Hello everyone, in today's video tutorial we are going to be looking at how we can use Google Forms for assessing our learners. So these Google Forms can help us create, first of all, the forms. We can use the Google Forms to create quizzes, and this is the main focus of our tutorial today. So for you to have access to these Google Forms, I always recommend that you log in your Gmail account and then you start on the process of creating your Google Form. The Google Forms are provided by Google, so Gmail is one of the Google accounts that you can work with in order to enable you have access to these Google Forms. So get signed in your account, and then if you're signed in, we shall go to this Google Apps button to enable us access our Google Drive. Why the Google Drive? The Google Drive always helps you whenever you save or you create your form. That form is automatically saved inside this drive. So that's why I recommend that you work from within your Google account, which is the Gmail account. So when you click on this Google Apps, you will see very many apps displayed, but go direct to the Drive button. When you click on the Drive button, a new tab for Google Drive will open. So it is from this Google Drive window that we shall be able to create our form and get it saved automatically within this drive. So to get started with creating our first form, we shall go to this new button. So when you click on the new button, we can see there are a number of options to create a folder, to upload a file, to upload the folder, to have Google Documents, but our interest is on working with Google Forms. So we click on Google Forms. This will also open a new tab for you on that browser that you're working with, and the tab is titled Untitled Form Google Forms. So in this case, we are on our Google Form window. If this message pops up, you can say okay, got it, and we have a clear view of our form. So from our form, we have very many features that I would wish to first of all go through them before we can start on the actual creating of our first form. Starting from the top left corner, we have the Untitled Form. So this Untitled Form button here is where the form name will always be displayed, or the form title. Coming to these two tabs, the Questions tab and the Response tab. The Question tab displays the view where you, the creator of Google Form, will be in a position to edit that form the way you want it. You can add in the questions, you do all kinds of settings that you want. All that can be done from this Questions tab, as we can see. Then looking at the Responses tab, when I can click there, the Responses tab will always give you the display of the responses from your respondents. You can be able to see how many respondents have participated in filling the form that you have submitted to them. You can also be in position to see how individuals have performed, as we shall see later. Still from this Responses tab, you're in position to set when do you want to end, to stop accepting responses from your participants. So you can switch this button on and off, so that if it is on, your responses will always be will always be submitted by your respondents. If you turn it off, no more responses will always be submitted by your respondents. Let's go back to the questions tab. From the questions tab, we have this point, Untitled Form. This is where you can put the title of the form that you are creating. For example, it could be a subject that you are creating, let's say ICT or computer studies test. You can put it as the title. Then you give the form description, what is contained in this form that you are creating. Looking at this point, we have untitled question. It is from this field that you can go ahead and put the question that you want to put. If it requires some options, then you will always have this option 1 and other options added here. Then on this side, this area shows us a display of the different types of questions that we can work with when we are dealing with Google Forms. You can put in the short answer questions, paragraph questions, multiple choice questions, check boxes, drop down, file upload, linear scale, and so many others, as we can see from the screen. Then to the left, to the right of this very area, we can see a button to help you add a new question. You have this button to help you import questions. That is, if you had already created a Google form which has some questions and you don't want to again retype these questions, you can do that by importing them with the help of this button. Then we have this button to help you add the title and description, and we have a button to help us add an image in case you have an assignment you wish to give to the students and it is in the form of an image. You can do that by attaching that file from this button of adding image. Some of us may be having videos that we want students to first watch, then they can go ahead and attempt the questions that follow after watching the video. So we can as well embed a video using this button, and then we can create sections within our quizzes that we are creating for our students. So then here we have this required button. This required button, when you switch it on, then it means this question that you have typed here is mandatory. A respondent cannot submit the file or their response without filling that particular question. Then we have this is to delete the question if you no longer need that question, and if you want to duplicate the question, you use this button to duplicate. Here we can have a display of some other menus if you want to have other menus, and we shall see how we can work with this button. All the time the menu information will change, it will not remain the same. Then on the top right part of our form, we have this button to customize the theme. You can customize the theme and color of your form that you're creating. This is to preview what you have set for your students. It is always important for you to preview your questions before sending to the students. Preview and test. See whether the form is going to perform exactly what you want. Then here we have the settings button, where we shall have some other settings that we shall see later, and this button is to help you send the form that you have created to your respondent. This is my profile picture. This is the Google account that I'm logged in at the moment. So that is that. So having seen these features and their functions, let us start on creating our first form. We have to start with creating the title for this form, and that can be done from this point. So you click on the top left corner of your form and put the title of the form. So in this example, I'm going to put Computer Studies Test 1. Test 1. So after typing, you press on the Enter key, or you can click aside, and then that information will automatically be added on this section as well. So this is the form title. Then we have to go ahead and put the description of this form we are creating. So we can say this contains 10 compulsory questions. So this is the description that I can even put, and I can say all questions carry equal marks. So that is my description for this form. So we are done with putting the form title and then the form description. So after putting the form title and the form description, our next point is now to go ahead and type that first question of our interest. Like we want now, because it is a test, we need now to go ahead and at least know which student has participated in filling this form or doing this test. So that can call for asking for the name of the student. So we click on this untitled question field. Then we require this student to give us his or her name. So we can say, what is your name? In bracket, I will just put a sentence and say, write your name here, so that a student can know that I need to put my name here. So with this Google form, it will definitely know that this just requires a short answer. So short answer will be automatically added here as the question type. So you just say it is short. It is a question that requires some participant or a respondent to only provide a short answer. So this is our question. What is your name? Write your name here. So this student has to put the name just below here. Now at this tab of questions, we cannot put anything there. We can do that when we are in the preview of this very Google form that we are creating. We shall see that later. So we are saying we need to find out which student has participated. So this implies that this question has to be made mandatory for the student. How do we do that? We have to turn on this required button so that a student does not submit his or her form without filling in his or her name. So we say this question is mandatory. It is required before submitting your form. Then now this is the first question. We now need to go and put another question. So to add a new question, we use this button to add that question. You click, then you will have to have this other field below. So here we click and type our first question. So our first question, we can put like, which of the following best describes a computer? We are now looking at multiple choice question. So multiple choice questions will require us to put some options for our students to now pick the right answer as they are providing their feedback to you. So which of the following best describes a computer? Our form is about computer studies, so we say this is multiple choice question. We shall leave it like that. Then what are those choices you're going to provide to the learner? So we go to option 1. You click there and you type the first option. So our first question, we can write and say a machine. So we can say this one, option 1, a machine. We want to put option 2. You can click on this area of add option or press on the enter key. Then we say another option is now electronic. Say electronic device for input. Option 3, we shall say electronic device for input and processing. Then our last option, we can say electronic device for input, processing and output. So these are our 4 options that we are providing our learner. So it is a quiz, so we have to make sure we set this question to be a quiz. So when we say it is a quiz, then we expect to provide the right answer for this question. How do we reach to those settings? First of all, let's make this question to be compulsory or mandatory, so we shall turn on this button. Now, to set this question as a quiz, we have to go now to settings tab. Settings button. Click there. So when you click on that button, we shall have a view of the settings dialog box displayed. Let's have a look at this dialog box, starting from the General tab. In the General tab, we have options to collect emails. If you want to collect emails that as someone is filling in, this person has to first of all sign in, then you can check that. But the challenge with this, sometimes they may limit the number of respondents filling your particular form that you have sent to them. Then you have this option for require sign in. So requires sign in, that is if you have said you want to collect the emails. Then limit to 1 response. If you want the respondents to only provide the response 1, then you can use that. Then you have respondents can edit after submit. So editing what? Edit their forms after submitting. Now this is a quiz. We don't require the student to again edit after he or she has submitted, so we shall not accept that. See summary chat and text response. If you want them to see, you can also turn it on. Let's look at the presentation tab. From the presentation tab, we have this first option, show progress tab. Someone can see how am I progressing with answering these questions. So how many have I answered? The tab will always keep on moving below the form. Shuffle questions order. If you want to do that, you can turn it on. Show link to submit another response. Our quiz is limited to is only restricted to one person. So we shall not say this person should submit another response. So for that case, we uncheck this. Then we have confirmation message. How will this respondent know that you have received his or her form and recorded? So you can customize by putting in that information, or you leave it blank, but I hope we can see this information at the background here, that your response has been recorded. If you want to customize the message, you can also customize and type well received. Well received. Then you say, please view your score. So this is what this respondent will see immediately. He or she submits his work or his response. Then our interest is now on the quizzes tab. On the quizzes tab, we have to make our question a quiz. So we say make this a quiz by turning on this button. And when you say make this a quiz, here they say assign point values to questions and allow auto grading. Yes, our student or our respondent, since this is a quiz, so we have to at least work with this option of grading. Now this grading means you can allow auto grading of that question that the student has attempted. You can assign how many marks this student or score this student has obtained, and then get the overall total. If you have 20 questions, then the student should be in position to know the results. Then you have quiz options. Release grade immediately after each submission, that if a student or a respondent submits his or her response, then we should have the grade released immediately. I think this is pretty good for the student. Then we have this option for later. Release grade later after manual review. So this means you, as the person who has created the form, you will release the grade after you have manually gone through the questions. But if there are multiple choice questions, I would recommend that we work with this option of immediately releasing the grade for the student after they have submitted. So I'll go with this. Then we have this option, respondent can see. See what? Can see the missed question, which question have they failed, correct answers. So this, if it is the correct answer, it is now me to set which correct answer is there among the alternatives I've provided for that question. Point value, how many points have you assigned to a particular question. So this is all we need. Then we can now click on save. Now when we click on the save button and we go back to our form, we realize that there is another feature that has been added, and this is called answer key. Answer key, besides it we see 0 points. So this implies we have to provide the answer key feedback for this question. Which one is the right alternative among these 4 options? So how do we set that? You click on answer key button. So when you click on it, here you have now to select the right alternative. Which of the following best describes a computer? A machine, an electronic device for input, it does not only perform input, an electronic device for input and processing, that is not the only task, electronic device for input, processing and output. You realize that this is the correct answer for this question. So in that case, you set it by checking or clicking in that radio button. So when you click there, you will have this tick showing that this is the answer key for this particular question. How many points is a student going to obtain after answering this question correctly? So you come and assign that from here. This student, after answering the question correctly, he or she should get 2 points. So you set the 2 points. Then we talked about a student viewing the right or the correct answer for this question, for this multiple choice question. And our correct answer is electronic device for input, processing and output. How can a student view that? So this calls for adding answer feedback for this question. So we again click on this button. So when you click on this add answer feedback, you will have the add feedback dialog box displayed. Now from this dialog box, we shall click on this tab for correct answer, so that when a student misses that question, he or she will get immediate feedback for the right answer to that question. So here we have to enter that feedback which is correct for that question. In this question, our correct feedback is electronic. So we say electronic device for input, processing and output. This is the correct answer. So we click on save. So this gets saved. We have our 2 points and we are saying this is the correct answer. Then we shall click on the option for done. Before we click on done, just below here we can see feedback for correct answers. The answer is electronic device for input, processing and output. In case you made a wrong feedback or you typed in a wrong feedback and you wish to go ahead and edit, so you just come to this button, you click on the button, then it will display for you the add feedback dialog box. Go ahead and write in the correct feedback that the learner or the respondent should see. After you click on save, then that feedback has to be saved, or else you can just delete the feedback if you don't want the feedback to be displayed. But then why delete that? So at the moment we are done with making all our settings for this particular question. What should we do next? Our next step is to click on done. So we are done with that question. If you have another question, then you can still go ahead and add that question. How do you add the question? Go to the add button, then that question area will be provided for you. So if you have that other question, you type in the question here and go through the same steps that we have gone through to make this question a quiz. Let's have a preview of what our student or our respondent will be viewing from the other side. So that means we shall go to preview button, click on it. When you click on the preview button, it will open a new tab with computer studies test. So this is what the respondent or the student will be seeing from the other side. At this point, we can now answer this quiz. So we try to answer. So what is your name? So you put your name, Ogwal Isaac. This is the student answering. Which of the following best describes a computer? I'm going to give in a wrong answer and we see what will happen when we try to view our score as a student. So I will say this. Then after doing that, I will come and click on the submit button. So when you click on the submit button, this message will also be displayed for the student. Computer studies test is the form title. Then this is the other custom message for confirming that the student's work has been received. Well received. Please view your score. So as a student, I click on this view score. It opens a new tab for on our browser, and here is the tab. Total points 0 out of 2. The name of the student is there, and here the question will be highlighted with red text color, indicating that that student has missed the question. And here there is an X for the same issue, missed. Then the student will be in position to see the correct answer, electronic device for input, processing, and output. Then he or she can go ahead and make that correction. What happens if a student answers the question correctly? So I'm going to close this. I also close this. Then we again go to our preview button, and we answer this question correctly. This time round I'm going to use a different name, so I can say Tim as our other student. Then I say the right answer is this. Then this student will submit. Well received. Please view your score. View score. Then the score right now, since the response is right, it will be with that green text color, and you will see a tick indicating that the student has passed that question. The feedback will still be provided to this student. So that is on the side of the student. Let's close these tabs. Now, you as a teacher, how are you going to find out how many students have responded and which students are those? We can view that directly from this form we are creating, because right now if we can see from this responses tab, it is indicating two responses. So click there. So when you click on responses, this may come because it is our first time. I will say got it. So from the responses tab, they will show you summary. So here there are 2 responses. Here is the summary in the form of graphs, as we can see. Then questions, how have they performed? So you can check out from there. There is a ungraded response. Then we have Team Jacob ungraded response 1. Then we have individuals, how have they performed? I want to know how has Ogwal performed. So you check, okay, he misfired this question, or he missed the question. Yes, that you are now finding out how your student or your students are progressing. Then if I want to see the next student or response, then you can use this navigation tab here. You click on this arrow, then they will show you that next student. I missed to talk about something here. You will know that, okay, this student passed. This is 2 of 2 points. So this student, who is that? That is this or Tim. He passed the quiz. So that's how you can find out from the responses tab. Now, assuming you are not now from this very tab, how can you find out? You have closed, because you will not leave your PC on for all that time. You may need to check the following day. How can you find that? We shall see that. So we have created our form, and we have tested it is working well. So at this moment I don't want to have these responses in my among my responses from the respondents. So we can decide to delete the responses. Click on the delete button. Delete response. Are you sure? Yes, it cannot be undone, so it gets deleted. We have only one. Then we can also delete this response, so we don't have any response. We have only the questions. We want now to send this form to our students or our respondents. How can we do that? We go to this send button. Click there. So when you click on the send button, the send form dialog box will be displayed. So here you can decide to send via emails if you had collected so you can decide to send via emails. So you type here the email, and then you have that that form sent. Or else you can share on Facebook or Twitter. You may not need to send via email or Facebook or Twitter, so you may need to only obtain a link to that form. So you click on this option for link. So when you click on it, then this is the link to this very form that we have created. Then you click on copy. If you realize, you see that this link is too long, but you can shorten by clicking on this button and you have a short link. It is this link that you copy and then you send to your respondents via Facebook, Twitter, emails, WhatsApp, SMS, mention them. So that is how we can send our form to our respondents and they fill. Now we are going to close this form because we are done with whatever we wanted to look at. What I have not discussed, I request you to try to see how can you work with the other different questions. However, in my next tutorial we shall be looking at how we can work with the check boxes and some other types of questions. Today we have looked at short answer questions and multiple choice questions. We are closing this tab. So when we now go to our drive, you realize that we now have the form which we created automatically saved there. So that is why we need to always create our form, our Google Forms within the Google Drive. It is easy for you to keep on checking from your drive and seeing how many have answered or have participated in filling the form that you have sent to them. So if you double click, you can view whether really this is the real form. So it is the real form we created. Hope this video tutorial has been helpful to you. See you in our next tutorial.